Tonight, the head of the OPP wants an Ontario court to order an investigation into the selection of Ron Taverner as the new commissioner. Brad Blair wants the Ombudsman to investigate Taverner's appointment amid concerns of political interference.
Our responsibility is the integrity of electricity supply.
Plus, the Ford government says it will recall the legislature to prevent a strike by Ontario power workers.
It's disrespectful. It's just wrong. There is no other word.
And Allstate Insurance Canada is facing a lawsuit over accusations of discrimination. Good evening, I'm Talia Ricci. The acting OPP commissioner is asking the courts to order Ontario's ombudsman to investigate the selection of Premier Doug Ford's family friend as his successor. The province's watchdog has turned down his previous request to probe the hiring process of Ron Taverner. As Hoea Fidel reports, the controversial hire has one Torontonian turning to a petition.
Dear Ontario Ombudsman, please investigate with all speed the appointment of Doug Ford's longtime friend, Ron Taverner.
Mary Newman reads from the letter she hand-delivered alongside a petition with more than 160 signatures asking for an investigation into Ron Taverner's appointment.
I'm hoping the outcome will be that more people get concerned and hopefully that he doesn't get appointed.
The acting commissioner, Brad Blair, asked the ombudsman to look into the appointment of Taverner on 2 occasions, but says the ombudsman refused. Earlier today, an attorney for Blair announced he will seek a court order forcing the ombudsman to investigate the process because of the circumstances surrounding the hiring.
Examples, the surprising lowering of qualifications, the changing in the panel membership, a number of different and odd developments that have caused, frankly, the public to express real anxiety.
This is a process that is under a huge cloud of suspicion now.
NDP leader Andrea Horwath urged the government to step in earlier this week.
We're talking about the Ontario Provincial Police, and it's the responsibility of the Premier and the Attorney General to step forward and take some action here.
One of the concerns with the hiring process was that the qualifications for the commissioner position were lowered. Premier Ford strongly denied he had anything to do with it.
What I understand, Augers, the search firm, was saying we have to broaden this. Now, if you want to talk about qualifications, I'll put Ron Taverner's qualifications against any police officer in this entire country.
Meanwhile, Newman says she hopes her petition will encourage transparency in the process.
I think we should all be scared when there isn't a proper division between the government and the police.
Ron Taverner is expected to assume his position as the new OPP commissioner on Monday. The Ombudsman's office declined to give comment at this time, but did say their office will respond to the application in court. Hoea Fidel, CBC News, Toronto.
There's a threat of blackouts across the province as soon as next week as Ontario power generation workers start job action. Thousands of workers are going on strike, and it's a strike that could shut down the power plants that provide close to half of the province's electricity needs. But the Ford government says they'll recall legislature to keep workers on the job. Mike Crawley reports.
The Power Workers Union calls itself the people who help keep the lights on. Well, if these 6,000 workers stay on the picket lines for more than a week, the lights in many parts of this province could go off. These are the people who run the Darlington and Pickering nuclear plants, as well as the province's major hydroelectric dams. They have been without a contract since March. In the past few months, they have rejected a couple of offers from Ontario Power Generation. Last night, they voted to strike. Late this afternoon, they issued the official notice that they are walking off the job. However, you can't just flip a switch and turn off a nuclear power plant, so this shutdown would only happen fully over 3 weeks. However, the experts who run the electricity grid in Ontario say that after about a week or 10 days of the loss of power, there would be outages in many parts of Ontario, and that means that would be happening right at Christmas. Here's the Energy Minister.
These nuclear assets that generate this electricity supply 40% of the province with electricity. That would be a devastating consequence, not just to the economy, but to the safety of families and businesses. So we intend to take whatever steps we need to ensure that the supply is uninterrupted.
Now, senior officials in the Ford government say they intend to call MPPs back here to Queen's Park next week to bring in legislation to end the strike. Now, that bill would get introduced on Monday. It could not pass immediately that day unless the NDP gives its consent. That is unlikely to happen. So it likely means Wednesday by the time the back to work legislation is through. And what that also does is it means the Ford government is going to be subject to question period, getting grilled on any other topic as well as this OPG strike. And that topic could include Premier Doug Ford's appointment of his family friend Ron Taverner to be the new commissioner of the OPP. He's supposed to take over that job on Monday. Mike Crowley, CBC News, Toronto.
And just in tonight, Steve Orsini, Secretary of the Cabinet and head of the Ontario Public Service, is retiring in the new year. In a statement released tonight, he said, "I have enjoyed more than 27 years of public service and have treasured every single moment of it." And Premier Doug Ford thanked Orsini for his service, saying, "I would like to particularly thank him for his counsel as we transition to the government for the people and his advice and guidance during the first 6 months of our government." And we have an update to the province's labor dispute with the Ontario Medical Association. We told you earlier this week how the Ford government had walked away from arbitration hearings with the OMA. Today, the PCs agreed to get those hearings underway once again. They were scheduled to begin tomorrow, but have now been pushed to next week. Marijuana retail stores have been given the green light by Toronto City Council, but there aren't going to be as many of them as some had hoped, at least not to start. Instead, the province is phasing in the stores, limiting the number of licenses available. As Greg Ross reports, some people who want to be a part of the retail market say their chances of doing that just got much worse.
We've been playing by the rules, but the rules are changing all the time.
Lauren Tensley manages a company called Retail Go, which was hoping to get into the retail cannabis market next year. But an announcement by the Ontario government yesterday has made it a lot harder.
Not only is it particularly unfair, but it's not a great way to kick off this cannabis retail in Ontario.
The province is taking a phased approach to retail pot, releasing a maximum of 25 licenses in the first phase, and they'll conduct a lottery to decide who gets them.
The lottery system, it means we might not get the very best operators.
Tensley's company has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars hiring consultants to prepare for the retail market.
We hired architects to survey the locations and make sure that we were being cognizant of the customer experience, but more importantly, security consultants to advise on how inventory would be stored, what security would be like in store and outside of the stores.
They've also leased 11 locations in the province to run their stores, 8 of them in Toronto. And they were ready to present a business plan on Monday, which is when the province had previously said they would be accepting applications. In a statement yesterday, the province said, all interested parties will be able to submit an expression of interest form online from January 7th to January 9th, 2019. The expressions of interest will be put into a lottery pool for a draw. The draw will be conducted on January 11th, 2019. Do you believe that this model that they're putting in place is going to be incentive for people to go back on the black market?
For sure, for sure.
Kenya Sayaloom used to run an illegal dispensary on Bloor Street West. She was also hoping to get into the legal retail market, but of the 25 licenses the province is issuing in January, only 6 of them are in the GTA.
We had 115 dispensaries at one time, and none of them were competing with each other. 6 isn't going to cut it. They're going to experience significant lineups, shortages.
There's still a lot of confusion surrounding this lottery. At this point, we're not sure if anybody can be involved or if they're going to have to meet some sort of requirements. I did speak with somebody from the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario who will oversee the lottery. They tell me we hope when the rules are posted next week, it'll be much clearer in regards to who will qualify to express an interest in a license. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now for a first look at our forecast. Another damp, not so sunny day, but at least it was fairly mild.
Yeah, that's right, Talia. Quite mild, seeing temperatures about 5 degrees above seasonal through the day today. What's nice about what's coming is that we'll have some drier conditions into Saturday and still get to keep some of those milder temperatures. In fact, for a few days, things are looking good. But just what's ahead in the next 24 hours, there's a little bit of drizzle out there and some patchy fog in a few areas. Otherwise, it's kind of a clearing trend, but we can't completely clear things out. And so what we'll find is that some clouds will build back in through the day tomorrow, and we're going to have these kind of variable skies. That sometimes you'll have more cloud cover and other times you're going to see more sunshine. Outside of the GTA, we're going to find more sunshine, in fact, moving through the area or getting more breaks in it, so looking a little bit better in some of those cases. But that's okay. It's a good day. Overnight tonight, 0 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon, highs about 4 degrees, so still running above seasonal. Now, there's another system that's going to skirt very close to us on Sunday. I'll show you how that looks when I come back.
I'm excited to see that sun again. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
I'm Adrian Chung in Brampton tonight, where a former insurance agent says that they were banned from selling to residents who live here, with claims that it's all based on discrimination. I'll have that story coming up.
Allstate Insurance Canada is facing a lawsuit filed by a former employee after claims the insurance giant banned a sales team from selling to residents in Brampton, citing more cases of insurance fraud in that city. But the employee who launched the suit says it's a case of discrimination. Adrian Chung has this exclusive story.
Medha Joshi remembers what she felt when she heard about a new sales policy from her boss.
It's not inclusive. It's disrespectful. It's just wrong. There is no other word.
She says her team of insurance agents at Allstate's Milton branch were banned from making sales to Brampton residents, with claims that the area is a hotbed for fraud. Joshi says her 15 years of insurance sales did not prove that to be true, and that Brampton was code for something else.
We know the community that resides in Brampton, and they are visible minorities. To not only be so brazen about we will no longer do this towards this community, but to also say that to someone who belongs to that community.
According to the 2016 census, people of South Asian ethnicity make up 44.3% of Brampton's population. Joshi was fired by Allstate in October. The insurance company said it was a case of misconduct on her part. In a lawsuit against Allstate, she believes her firing came down to a different reason.
I believe one of the reasons that I was wrongfully dismissed is because I was a whistleblower.
None of the charges have been proven in court. Her lawyer says if the allegations are true, it would be in violation of the Ontario Human Rights Code.
Insurance companies aren't allowed to discriminate in that way. While they are allowed to have different premiums for people of different ages or different genders, that is not the same in terms of people's ethnic background.
Joshi feels her and her colleagues have been let down.
You feel a sense of violation. Everybody that belongs to a community, whatever that community is proud.
Allstate Insurance Canada has not responded to CBC News for comment. This is the statement of claim, and within it, Joshi is suing for wrongful dismissal along with the violation of the Human Rights Code. And while Allstate Insurance did not respond for requests for comment, it has filed a notice that it intends to defend itself in court. Adrian Chung, CBC News, Brampton.
Tomorrow marks exactly 1 year since billionaire philanthropists Barry and Honey Sherman were found strangled in their Toronto mansion. No arrests have been made. Tonight, we have an interview Honey Sherman gave to a charity. It sheds light on the efforts the couple made to help others before their deaths. John Lancaster has the story.
To sound like Miss America, my hopes for the Tour for Humanity would be world peace.
Honey Sherman was upbeat in this 2015 interview for the Simon Wiesenthal Center for Holocaust Studies, one of the many charities she and her husband Barry, the founder of generic drug maker Apotex, supported. Avi Ben-Lolo knew the couple well.
Their loss to us is still shocking. We think about it every single day.
The Shermans were found strangled in their Toronto mansion 12 months ago. At first, police suspected it was a murder-suicide.
These last few days,
the family quickly fired back, accusing police of mishandling the case. Police would later say they believe the Shermans were murdered, even targeted. The violent death seemingly at odds with Honey Sherman's efforts to help others.
The acceptance of all peoples within our society would actually be a huge plus, and I guess that's the best that we can hope for.
The hope now, says Ben Lolo, resolution.
We want this to be in the spotlight continuously, and that the killers are found and brought to justice.
Toronto police say the Sherman deaths continue to be actively investigated, but there's nothing they can reveal publicly at this point. Meanwhile, the family is offered a $10 million reward, and their private investigators are said to be making progress. John Lancaster, CBC News, Toronto.
My name is Miles Morales. I'm the one and only Spider-Man. At least that's what I thought.
There's a new web slinger in town. Spider-Man returns to his animated roots in Marvel's latest film, Into the Spider-Verse. But will it be worth leaving the web to go to the theater? Eli Glasner will join us with the details coming up.
Is my universe. So you want to learn to be Spider-Man?
Can you teach me?
Yes, I can. Time to swing. Good, you're doing it. Double tap to release.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Colette's back now with our extended forecast, and I know you've delivered us a beautiful Saturday, but I think we're all also wondering about Sunday.
Yeah, let's look at the weekend as a whole, right? And what's going on with these temperatures. Definitely on the mild side. I know there's a lot of information behind me with the almanac, but something I want to point out is the average high just right around 1 degree and our average low around -6. And boy, we're riding way above that with these temperatures, and we're going to see it for a few days. So in terms of the precipitation, hey, we had that today. That's moved off to the east of us. A few areas with just a little bit of spotty drizzle or some patchy fog through the overnight hours. The general trend is towards clearing out some of the cloud cover, but it's not all going to go away, and that's why I'm saying that as we go through the day on Saturday, we're going to see those kind of variable skies, so that sometimes you'll have more sunshine and sometimes there'll be more cloud cover, and there'll certainly be areas to the northwest that you're going to get all kinds of bright sunshine as you get a little bit further away from the GTA. So as we get into Sunday, we get this system that skirts just to the south of us, though, so very good news on that. Now, unfortunately, it'll throw some of that cloud cover back at us. So we will see a little more cloud cover with just some sunny breaks likely into Sunday, but we're going to keep the milder temperatures and keep that precipitation down there south of us. A little patchy fog for southwestern Ontario also. Otherwise, it is a trend of clearing out. 1 degree the overnight lows. Highs tomorrow of about 5 degrees. Looking at a mix of sun and cloud for you guys too. In the GTA, lows right around the freezing mark or even just above. Remember, -6 is seasonal for this time of year. Tomorrow afternoon, winds out of the north-northeast, but they're not going to be all that strong, and highs range from 3 to 5 degrees in most cases, looking at a high of about 4 degrees. So still mild, just not quite as mild as today. Into Sunday, 3 to 4 for the highs, and we'll see more of that cloud cover building in, but at times there should be some sunny breaks. We get into kind of a transition day, Monday into Tuesday. So Monday, you'll notice the temperature is still 3 degrees, but we get a chance for seeing some precipitation, and mostly would be rainfall here. Also likely going to be a windy day with those winds out of the west, and then that transitions us into Tuesday, where we're going to find those temperatures kind of coming down a little bit, but it's one day only, Talia, and then those temperatures go back up again.
That's a positive way to look at it, and a nice looking week. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
There's a new Spider-Man movie swinging into theaters across Canada. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is an animated version of the comic book character, but that's just part of what makes this web-slinger different. With more, here's CBC film critic Eli Glasner.
The story begins with a world that already has a Spider-Man.
But this isn't about me.
It's about Miles Morales. He's not looking to save the day. He just wants to do his thing, make his art, and stay out of his police officer father's path. Now, this part of the story we've seen before. Kid bitten by radioactive spider develops new powers, but this time it isn't nebbish Peter Parker, but Miles, a young Afro-Latino teen living in Brooklyn. And what does Miles do when he's sticking to walls and freaking out? He opens a comic. Yeah, this is a postmodern spider tale, not only aware of the web slinger's roots, but reveling in them. The animation took twice as long because there's an additional layer of hand-drawn elements to accentuate the comic book aesthetic. Look at the lines on Miles' face in the shading, or watch him chasing after the Prowler. Did you see that? Okay, let's look again. Bam! And ponk, whatever that is. The movie is littered with art bombs of sequential art. Words hang in the air or explode out of screeching tires.
Twist and release him. Twist, release, twist.
Perfect for a film where a dimensional portal opens up and suddenly there's a whole gang of spider people.
How many more spider people are there?
There's drummer, dancer, Spider-Gwen, Nicolas Cage as the black and white Spider-Man Noir, and my personal fave, Spider-Ham, with the voice of comedian John Mulaney.
Do animals talk in this dimension? Because I don't want to freak him out.
Like any great origin story, Miles is defined by a series of tragedies. Familiar but meaningful updates where the context is changed because of Miles and his place in the world.
If I don't destroy the collider, none of us will have a home to go home to.
Back in 1962, when Stan Lee first gave us Peter Parker, this neurotic superhero balancing his home life with his hero duties was a revelation. But rather than just a gimmick to bring in new audiences, the new Spider-Man feels like how Stan would tell the story today. No matter who or what we are, that power and responsibility is in all of us.
Me as the teacher who could still do it. You as the student who can do it, just not as good.
4.5 stars out of 5.
Welcome back. It was a competition for a good cause. 6 schools from the GTA raced against each other to sort food as part of our Sounds of the Season food drive. And several CBC personalities were team captains, including our Mike Wise, Dwight Drummond, and Marivelle Tarouk. Take a look at what went down today, all in the name of giving.
Our hearts are filled with the joy of Christmas.
You're actually helping so many people that are not just homeless, but are going through so much during this Christmas season that are very lonely. So if you ever get a chance, be a part of it and come down here.
But what was wonderful was you think about the next generation and all of these kids, 100+ kids coming out and saying, we can do something positive for the community. And to me, that's really what touched my heart, particularly at this time of year.
Must have missed my invite. But although today was fun, remember all of this is for a good cause. Our Sounds of the Season fundraiser for GTA food banks continues until the end of the month. So far, you've helped us raise more than $470,000 as well as 4,900 pounds of food. You can donate in person here at CBC or online at cbc.ca/SOTS. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Marivelle Tarouk has your next news tomorrow at 6. Good night.